right, y'all. Let's get into it. 49ers lose this game 2017. They lose to the Tennessee Titans, and it was a really bad loss. It was a really bad loss. I don't have really many words to say the reason why we lost this game. The Niners shot themselves in the foot a lot in this game, and there was there were some really bad penalties that were self-inflicted for the Niners. But the main reason why we lost this game was, I mean, there is no getting around it. It was Jimmy Garoppolo. There is no anybody, you can be the biggest Jimmy stan on the planet, but the reality was he put the defense in bad positions all night long. It was bad. He was just bad. Did he make a couple of throws? Yeah. Did he get us? Did he get the tying touchdown? Yeah. But that was after letting them back in the game and completely switching the momentum back to the Titans. Niners were up 10-0 at the half. Like the 49ers had all the momentum going into the second half, and Jimmy just said, here you go. You can have it all back. You can have it all back. And here, I'm going to give you some more too to get you over the hump. It was bad. It was just bad. That being said, Jimmy Garoppolo, he went 26-35, 322 yards. He did have the one touchdown, but he had two picks, not one, but two picks. And I think, like I've said in a few past videos, it will be interesting when Jimmy has to throw the ball more than 3 times a game. It's a problem. It's always going to be a problem. And people that don't want to recognize it don't see the problem. As good as Jimmy was in the last game, and Jimmy was dealing last game, but guess what? He only threw the ball 23 times. And it allowed him to loosen up the defense to get the running game involved, and they could run the ball 32 times. This game, the Titans were not having our run game at all. And I think I talked about that in yesterday's video, that the Titans have a stellar run defense, which they showed it in this game, even though Debo did his thing. But the reality was they were not afraid of Jimmy in the least. They sat on the route. They read his reads and knew where he was going with the ball, and they sat on Kittle and took away his security blanket and made him uncomfortable. Offensive line did a great job protecting him, in my opinion. I don't really care what anybody thinks about that, but the reality was Jimmy just made bad throw after bad throw, missed a wide open Ayuk, missed a wide open Juice. It was just bad. It was just bad. Bad Jimmy came out, and when bad Jimmy comes out to play, nobody's having fun. It's just, but the 49ers moved to 8-7. Terrible self-inflicted loss. Terrible. It's not just Jimmy's fault that they lost, but he was terrible. And your quarterback is supposed to be the leader of your team. Is it a team effort? Absolutely. But the quarterback is supposed to be the leader of your team. Jimmy is not a leader. He doesn't lead by example. He makes boneheaded mistakes, and guys are wide open, and he just can't hit them. So that's just to start off this video. Pardon me, but and I think all of us 49er fans feel a little upset about this one, because this was as it being a short turnaround of a game. And for the 49ers to be in the position that they were at the half of this game, there's no excuse, literally no excuse, excuse me, for Jimmy to just hand them this game. No excuse. Defense did its job. I don't care what anybody says. Defense did its job. But let's just move on to the Titans. What the Titans did, the results were the Titans moved to 10-5. Tannehill in my mind, is what we wish Jimmy was, because Tannehill didn't make the big mistake. He kept them in this game by not making the big mistake and just staying the course, following the game plan, hitting the guys when they were open, and literally just throwing AJ Brown the ball. That's how. And we wish that Jimmy could do the things that Tannehill did, but regardless, Tannehill is what we wish Jimmy was, because he's not a world beater. He's not a world beater. He only had like 209 yards in this game, but he didn't make the big mistake. Their run game didn't do much in this game. Their run game didn't do it, but guess what happened? Tannehill got a key run at the end of the game to put him in field goal position to win the game. He made that decision. He made a good decision in the moment. And not to say that Jimmy hasn't been clutch in previous games, because he has, but this was a playoff. This was a playoff team that we just played, that we could have beat. We could have dominated, to be honest, because if Jimmy just gives you what Tannehill gave you, they dominate. They probably win this game, 17-7 or something to that effect. Or to be honest, it could have been 24-7. But I digress. AJ Brown dominated. He had 11 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown, and he was just better than Josh Norman and Avery Thomas. However, he did get laid out by Jaquiski Tartt once, and then Jimmy Ward kind of locked him down on 1-2. But when he was going up against Josh Norman and Avery Thomas, I mean, it's a mismatch. And I mean, that's most receivers. It's a mismatch for Josh Norman. But it was really, but yeah, AJ Brown just did it by himself. He was really, they only threw to a couple other guys, but our defense for the most part kept the run game in check. Their run game really didn't do much. The one big run they had, they got called back on a holding call, but their defense kept our run game in check, except for Deebo Samuel. He had like 6.5 yards a carry on his runs, but Jeff Wilson didn't do much. So I mean, their defense did well against, which I kind of called in my last video. Their secondary didn't really play well. We just had Jimmy as our quarterback, and that's just the reality of it. We had guys that were wide open, could have made big plays, but we didn't have our quarterback couldn't find them, or he just missed them on throws. So Jimmy just made them look a lot better than what they were. It is what it is. Our offense, as far as our offense goes, Jimmy, I'm going to go back to it one more time. Jimmy was trash. Jimmy was trash in this game, period. The end of story. And that's the last I'm going to say about Jimmy, at least for this segment. Run game, like I said, was not effective for the most part, due to Jimmy being ineffective. When he can't throw, that's just going to clog the middle. Jeff Wilson is not a world beater. He's not an Elijah Mitchell. He can't bust runs. Like, he's not explosive like that. So he needs for Jimmy to hit throws to take the defense away from the line of scrimmage. And it wasn't going to happen. So Debo tried to will this team to victory by himself. That was a pretty run, pretty catch and run at the end of the game where he fell on the ball and got and I think he knocked the wind out of himself. I don't think he was hurt too bad by that, but it turned into a IU touchdown. So Debo was just, I mean, like I said before, he had 6.5 yards of carry, plus he had nine receptions for 159 yards. The guy was just a stud out there today. He was just a stud. He tried. He tried really hard to keep us in this game. He just couldn't get us all the way there. But yeah, Wilson had 14 carries for 45 yards. That's not going to get it done in the running game, but that we were going up against the best one of the best run defenses in the league. So I didn't really expect them to run all over this team. But Ayuk had 4 receptions, 40 yards, and a touchdown. He should have had another catch, but Jimmy missed him. He was sitting right there in the hole in the zone, and Jimmy decided to throw it away from him. I once again, it was another miss by Jimmy. But the Titans blanketed Kittle. He only had 2 receptions for 21 yards. They knew where Jimmy wanted to go, and they're one of the few teams in this last run of games that actually just took Kittle away. And I'm sure that on Twitter we're gonna see some video of that Kittle might have been open for all we know when the all 22 video comes out. And we'll see. But from what it looked like they were just literally making a concerted effort to take Kittle away and see if Jimmy could throw to anybody else, which he just showed you what happens when he does that, when you do that. So as far as the defense goes, D'Amico had another good game. D'Amico Ryans had another good game in my estimation. Jimmy put them in bad positions. He gave them a short field. Through an egregious interception, through another egregious interception in the end zone. It was he just put the defense in bad positions. The time of possession was pretty even, but you could see that the defense was a little gassed at the end of the game. It was really, I think that the 49ers were controlling the clock until the second half, where Jimmy just kind of lost all composure and started just giving them the ball. So Ambry Thomas, let's talk about Ambry Thomas for a minute. Great improvement, outstanding improvement. We're seeing this kid grow right in front of us, and this is why you want to see your rookies get playing time, is because they need those reps to get ready. Like this guy he was going up against AJ Brown. You might look at AJ Brown's stat line and say, oh, he destroyed Ambry Thomas and all that. No. Ambry, he got one. I think he got one on Ambry Thomas, but for the most part, Ambry had 2 breakups on AJ Brown. And you saw a little bit of swagger from him even. So I was very, very encouraged by what Ambry Thomas was giving us in this game. I feel like he did the best that he could with his level of play. And the Titans O-line was, I noticed they did a lot of cut blocking, like towards the end of the second half, and it really kind of slowed our defensive line down. It just kept them at bay, and it made them think about it before they were rushing, which gave Tannehill some time to throw the ball towards that in that second half, because in the first half, D-line was dominating. Bosa, what was encouraging was that Bosa wasn't really the focal point. I think that they paid so much attention to Bosa that the other guys got to eat. And I said this in yesterday's video, was that the D-line was going to get a chance to show that they are not just Bosa, that there are other guys on this defensive line that absolutely have talent, absolutely need to be recognized. We didn't really hear much from Arden Key in this game. But Samson Ebicom had a sack and a half. Jordan Willis had a sack. We had a Jordan Willis signing. DJ Jones had a little scare, but he really helped out in the run game, stuff in the middle. The D line. I mean, they still had 4 sacks. Contavious Street had a sack. So it was a bunch of guys that not the national media is not going to know who those guys are. They're not going to know who those guys are. So the D line had a good game, in my estimation. Warner and Alshire had a solid game. They were flying all over the place. Alshire, for coming off of an injury, you could tell that it was that elbow was bothering him, and I'm glad that he gets a little bit of extra time to get rested up for this next game against the Texans, because he looked like he was hurting a little bit. And I believe they had to take him out towards the end of the game, and they had put Marcel Harris in there. And you could tell the difference on that last those last couple of drives. But the Titans had a good game plan for Bosa. They just kept chipping him with tight ends and just taking that little tick of seconds off of his rush time. And it was doing just enough to keep him. And now he still made a couple of plays. I think he had 1 tackle for loss, but he was still winning his matchups. But you could see he was just a step late. So they had a good game plan for Bosa, but it let the other guys eat. So it was really encouraging to see the defensive line pick up Bosa and just let everybody know that, okay, you want to do that, Bosa? We got some talent too. We got some talent. So yeah, it was great. It was a great job by the defensive line, and they just kind of gassed out at the end, where I feel like they couldn't really get a pass rush. They couldn't really get anything going towards those last couple of drives. But it came down to AJ Brown just being better than Josh Norman and Avery Thomas. Unfortunately for them, Josh Norman, I mean, you expect that. He always seems to, even though he allows that big catch, he always seems to get his hand on the ball anyway, and guys just catch the ball over him. I don't know if anybody else notices that, but he always has a hand in there. He just can't quite get the ball out. But Avery Thomas, I was really encouraged by his play in this game. And still, in no way, shape, or form was this loss on the defense. I just want to make that clear. That they might have been gassing out towards the end of this game, but in no way, shape, or form was this loss on them. This loss was squarely. Now, granted, before I say this, there was penalties and mistakes made by other people in this game, but this loss goes squarely on the shoulders of Jimmy, in my opinion. And I don't know any other way to say it. Like, that's just the way it goes. But it's a dejecting loss, because it could have been prevented with better ball security, but it wasn't. And 49ers lost. 49ers now have to go beat they have to go beat the Texans. There is no looking past anybody. They have to go back home and beat the Texans. And I live in Houston. I wish that the game was here. I'd find a way to go see it. But there was a chance 49ers could have moved to the 5th seed. But now that's over now. We're just trying to solidify that 6th seed. And we're just trying to get in the playoffs at this point. Jimmy's gonna start next week. I don't want to hear anything about Trey Lance. Oh, well, maybe they might start Trey Lance. It's not gonna happen. So let's not even go there with it. Jimmy is our quarterback going forward, for better or for worse, for win or lose. He's going to be our quarterback. We're still gonna support him, but we're just mad at him. We're mad at him for today. So 49ers are going to get some extra rest, which they need. They were a little nicked up in this game, but they're going to get a few extra days of rest. Uh, there are positives about this game. I don't want to seem like I'm just upset about the game as a whole, but I just want to say Ward and Tart are elite. They're an elite safety tandem, and they showed in this game that that for being safeties, they can still play you, still cover you in man coverage, and against elite receivers. When AJ Brown was matched up against him, he didn't have much success. I'll just say that. So Ward and Tart are elite. I don't care what anybody says; they're elite. Offensive line played solid. Jimmy wasn't running for his life in this game. He had plenty of time to throw the ball. He had plenty of time to make his reads. He had plenty of time to check down if he needed to. Uh, Offensive line did its job. I'm sure we'll hear some nonsense about PFF grades for the offensive line, but I don't care. I don't care. It's offensive line played solid. They gave him the time he needed. D line, like once again, D line played well without Bosa dominating. Um, but thank you all for watching and listening. But I'm just mad today because I'm just coming off this loss. So don't mind me, but thank you guys for listening and watching. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to go on Twitter and see all the Jimmy civil warfare that's going to happen. It's bound to happen. It happens in our fan base far too much for my liking, but we shouldn't be polarized around one player on this 53-man roster. But the guy just he has this uncanny way of controlling his own narrative by playing terrible and then makes a couple of plays that give his fans that just pause. So but let's take this loss out on the Texans. It's going to be imperative that they win this game. So let's take this loss out on the Texans. Let's beat them up a real night like they deserve to be beaten. And once again, I'll be back. I'll see you guys when we're getting ready for that next game. But look out and I may be doing some extra videos. I'm trying to find some time to do some extra videos, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, as always, even in a loss, go Niners.